Dewo, and Dewo, for those of you who speak Igbo, there will be long life to all of you. And that is what I hope and pray for every last one of you. Welcome, family, to Chiism Live. We are a spiritual family if we would just embrace that fact. It is a luxury. We are a family. I'm Okedibia, Dr. Waonyo Husimere. I'm your host on Chiism Live. Before we go any further, it is imperative that we give thanks to the Most High for this wonderful opportunity that we are experiencing today, because this is the greatest miracle, the opportunity to inhale and exhale and continue to do it. There are so many people lying in state today, but we are not one of them. We are still alive. So that is good reason to celebrate and be grateful. I hope that you're grateful too. It is my pleasure to not introduce actually, is to welcome my co-host, Dibia Ochoaja, UD Onyo Hadibia. Kawo.
Kao, Yagazie, and Yagazie to all. Glad to be here. Let's get this show going. I'm excited.
Greetings to you.
Yes.
Did you enjoy your Thanksgiving? I'm still
Oh
in the
yeah,
turkey.
we had a blast. Unfortunately, we had to deal with the nucleus family. Wife and the kids.
Yeah.
My boys, and it was great. It really was. It was very intimate, something that we've never done before. Normally if we're not cooking, we're at your house or my other, Oma's house or something.
Yes.
Enjoying Thanksgiving with a whole bunch of friends. But we're dealing with COVID-19 now, so we have to be very, very, very careful how we interact with friends and family. But I'm still eating leftovers right now. Wife is on strike. No more cooking until next week. So,
well, hey, I can't go on strike. I wasn't the one who cooked. My
I
husband
know.
so, welcome. I
Yeah,
would
thank you.
like
All right.
to ask the audience to please take the time and visit our YouTube channel, Chiism of Africa. And while you're there, please subscribe and share it. Share it because we grow based on you. We ask for your support. And you can also visit our website, chiism.org. Where you can see our activities, our writings, and quite a bit of information that will tell you a little bit more about who we are. You can also join us on Instagram. It's also called Chiism of Africa. And if you're on Facebook, you can visit us on Global Faith Ministries of Chiism on our Facebook page. So, based on all of that, it is our pleasure to welcome you into our world. And so we can have discussions. Also, feel free, if you're joining us, feel free to write comments and suggestions or whatever concerns you may have about the topic. And we will be sure to read them across the screen. And we really do welcome your comments. We welcome your participation. I don't want you to just come and just listen to us because you have opinions about, these matters. So, what is our conversation today? We picked a topic because as people of African descent, we have a tendency to embrace other things that we already have in our backyards. But for whatever reason, we have a feeling that someone else's backyard is greener than ours. And you can go, theirs is a gold mine of so much. Why is ours is a backyard of nothingness? But we do have the same belief system in terms of what is human, human thoughts that every religion embraces. So what are those? Today we're going to talk about miracles, the biblical miracles. What are they? Versus other religious miracles. In the Bible, for those of you who read the Bible, there are 126 miracles recorded. And, some of the most familiar ones for everybody is the creation, the creation of life, the flood, the speaking in tongues, how the sinful cities were destroyed, the supernatural delivery from death of Sodom, natural and supernatural conception. Then you have the plagues of Egypt. There you have 10 of those plagues. Then you have the Exodus, the miracles, which is about 20 in the Exodus. Then you have 42 miracles surrounding God's prophets. So the Bible is loaded with miracles. So the question is, why is the Bible focused on miracles? What is the importance of miracles? Don't other religions have miracles? We as African people do our spirituality not accommodate miracles. So you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose? What is really the purpose of miracles? It is to seal the divine mission of God, the interaction between men, so-called men of God, and the authority given to them by the Creator to do miraculous things that are outside the norm. But don't we have such people? So I'm going to throw the question to Yudi. Otraja, do we have miracles in African spirituality?
Yeah, we do. Miracles, they're just common occurrences, across all world religions, right? Miracles is not specific to any particular faith. And really, the main purpose of religion is for persuasion, right? We believe that the Almighty God, the Creator, is omnipotent, omnipresent, and is capable of doing all manner of things that are not of the norm, right? Regular stuff, maybe like driving a car or whatever. The greatest miracle that is common among all religion is the miracle of life itself, the miracle of creation, right? And since we as humans were not present when the world was created, we attributed that creation to something greater than ourselves, and that something is Almighty Chineke. In so many different languages. In English, it's God. In Islam, it's Allah. In Judaism, it's Yahweh. In other African spirituality, it's Ubangiji, Tamuna, Jeyami, Urumila, Nkulu, and so on and so forth. So miracle is just something that exists in all religion. And the idea is for persuasion, to persuade you that God is capable of doing things outside normal occurrences. And this way you are convinced that God can do all things, including have control over life and death, something that we don't have control over. So based on that, we believe in all these miracles, even though we cannot quantify them. It's not like you could put a miracle, in a test tube and then test it to see if it's real or not. Even though we attribute creation as the ultimate and first miracle across all religions, we need to keep one thing in mind. It is science. Anything outside science is magic. And anything outside that was never real. Creation can be tested. You can vouch for how a baby is made, how a tree germinates, how a plant germinates, how the fish came to be in the ocean. To some certain extent, you can even talk about the Big Bang and how the universe was created, which right now is still not an exact science. We're still in awe of it, and it's still under investigation. But I have no doubt in my mind, maybe 1,000 years from now, we'll be able to figure that out too. So miracles is just common. Every religion has it. No one miracle is greater than the other. And then when you talk about miracles, you also have to talk about the extent of it, the purpose of it. Some of them you may call miracles, others you may not call them miracles, even though they're they're extraordinary things, but you could still quantify those things because you could put two things together to create something that is so awesome that can change lives, that because of its awesome nature is miraculous. But in the end, it's really science. To give you an example, one of the miracles that is common in Native American culture, Australian Aborigine culture, and African culture is rainmaking. Now, to the untrained eye, especially if you're, really into Abrahamic religion, example like Christianity, I mean, you might think of it as magic, a witchcraft, something like that. Somebody's able to make rain. But rainmaking is really science. But you have to be trained to be able to make rain happen, to be able to cause rain to, you know, bring the clouds together and have it rain. It takes an understanding of some of the earthly materials. Some materials that you put in a pot and you boil them, then the steam goes up into the atmosphere, and after a few hours, mixes up with whatever it mixes up with there, it creates rain clouds and it starts to rain. The extent of the rain varies. It might be heavy, it might just be, you know, light sprinkles and all that. But a lot of things that we consider miracles are really science. The extraordinary miracles in other religions, for example, Hinduism, is where one of the Hindu gods was able to bring his son back from the dead by cutting off his head and replacing it with the head of an elephant. Buddhism also has its own miracles that Buddha performed when he duplicated himself, or when he raised the dead. Jesus Christ is not the only person that raised the dead. Some of the miracles you see in the Bible, particularly in the New Testament, are borrowings from other world religions, like Buddhism, like the Egyptian, religion, like Mithraism, right? And people like Horus, Osiris, Isis, the story of creation and all, divine, immaculate conception, so to speak. That tradition is Mediterranean, right? And it started in Egypt 5,000 years before the so-called birth of Jesus Christ. So religious miracles is common. Every religion needs it for persuasive reasons, because if you don't believe that God or the creator, Chineke, is able to perform extraordinary feats, you will not be interested in adhering to any religion. After all, if you don't expect any blessing from the Almighty God, you will not be praying.
You know, I remember when His Holiness was alive, and he was telling us about the rainmakers, and when the land was dry and they called these men, But unfortunately, which is what we have a tendency of doing, when we have our own things, or our own belief system, we allow it to be damaged and discouraged, so that when people are doing, like the rainmakers now, are reluctant to do it. They're very reluctant to do it because they're ostracized for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yet the same thing that everyone else does is okay, provided, it is not African. I want to share this with you. Speaking of miracles, I believe that if you believe that there's a Santa Claus, you're believing in some kind of miracle.
Yes.
You understand?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. It's an interesting miracle. But if you don't, if you believe in Santa Claus, then you should be able to believe in the miracle of the masquerades and what they represent. What do I mean by that? We are convincing our children that there's this big miracle. Now, these are people who believe in the Christian miracles. I am not here trying to undermine or demean. I'm trying to make a point here. You have young children that are taught that there's a man who flies from the North Pole on reindeers and flies to Africa.
Yeah.
Of course, he never finds the chimneys because we don't have no chimneys, right?
Yeah.
But somehow he's able to fly from the North Pole and bring toys to our children.
Yes.
But if you see a masquerade, you tell the child to run because you think it's a part of the occult. You don't see anything miraculous about Santa Claus coming from the sky to Africa.
I do.
That we embrace, though. That we embrace. But the masquerades, who are really, quite frankly, representative of our cultural belief in our connection with the ancestors, our belief system that tells us that the ancestors are always with us, our guardians, right? And also teaches us how not to be selfish. When you see a masquerade, what do? You give them money. You throw some, as opposed to
peanuts,
Santa Claus. Yeah, as opposed to Santa Claus that tells you, hey, I'm going to give you all this stuff. Then maybe you get a stringy little doll, while your neighbor who's rich gets all the good stuff, but you get barely nothing. You may not get anything at all.
Well,
What kind of
you only get a present depending on if you can afford to or not,
yeah, you can
or
afford
if somebody's kind enough to you to help you out.
but these are people who laugh at African miracles. I'm just telling you, because if you, depending on your concept of miracles, if it's something that's beyond the normal realm, beyond something that happens in natural phenomena, right?
Yeah.
Then if you believe that that Santa Claus or a bunny rabbit comes carrying eggs, first of all, bunnies don't lay eggs, do they?
They sure don't.
But
You're
they
absolutely
running
right.
around. You find them running around giving you eggs, giving your chicken. I mean, come on.
I mean, a lot of
Miracles
yeah.
are the real purpose of miracles is to show the certainty of God's presence through the person who's doing the miraculous work. Okay, they're supposedly representing the connection between the person and Chineke and God, right? If your own people from our own spiritual organizations come to you and say, hey, this came from the Creator, I can do these things because God has made it possible for me to do, right? You don't believe it. You don't believe that God's power can pass through your own. The Hindus don't care what you think. That is their own. They have their own set of miracles, their connection to the divine. The Buddhists or whoever outside of Christendom, they have their own belief system about the miracle that is God.
Yes, they do.
Okay, but we don't embrace ours. We don't want to hear about ours. Well, ours is voodoo. Ours is the occult. Stay away from anything that is not Christian in nature. Okay, so I say all of this to say miracles are relevant. Miracles do happen if you believe that they happen, but they happen in your backyard too. They don't have to come on a plane from England or from the United States or from Israel or from wherever the heck they come from.
Or from the North Pole.
Or from the North Pole, for that matter, or from an Easter bunny. I mean, I see our own people running around condemning our own miraculous stuff. Okay, even if it's a story, because like you said earlier, these things are not based on scientific fact. The only miracle that there is, as you said, is life. That's proven. Everything else is based on our way of trying to connect to the Creator.
And we can even create life in a test tube. It's not even so divine anymore. Science can actually clone things and create life. Miracles is really part of mythology and folklore for every culture. Myth is based on folklore. The myth is not based on truth. It is just a belief system that is spiritual in nature or religious in nature, and the sole purpose is for persuasion, to persuade you to believe that this particular ideology or entity is capable of performing these extraordinary things. Without such belief, nobody's going to adhere to any religious philosophy, none whatsoever. So for me, there are levels to miracles, right? And what do I mean by there are levels to miracles? There are levels to miracles in terms of how the information is disseminated globally. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. If your decision is expansionist in nature, and you are able to convince other cultures through a policy of iron to walk with you, then your story is going to be heard louder than anybody else's.
First of all, let me just kind of welcome some individuals who are on this program with us. I would like to welcome Adoha Obionyoha, who's joining us from Spain. How wonderful.
Nice.
And you know, she is the oldest daughter of His Holiness Ahankeo Konyoha, and the Continental Envoy for Theism, Gordianism in Europe. So we are very, very honored to have her here.
Welcome,
and here's
welcome,
a question.
welcome.
Here's a comment, Rudy. There's a comment that she says most biblical miracles are in the New Testament and all attributed to Jesus Christ in the quest to make Christianity as mystical as the pagan religions on which it was based upon.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Remember, in the beginning, I talked about the fact that a lot of the miracles of Jesus Christ came from myths surrounding Buddha, myths surrounding Osiris and Horus, myths surrounding Mithra, Dionysus, and a host of other Middle Eastern religious heroes. Give you an example: the virgin birth. That's a miracle in itself, isn't it? God comes in from the heavens and comes down, finds a woman on earth, impregnates the woman, and the woman gives birth. God did it to Mary while Mary was married to Joseph. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris did the same thing with Isis to begat Horus. Same thing happened to Buddha. Buddha is of Immaculate, even though his real name is Atta. Buddha is a state of spiritual being that you attain, right? And that's what all Buddhists try to do, attain the a level of becoming a Buddha. But Buddha was born of Immaculate Conception. So was Mithra. So was Dionysus, and a host of all the Middle Eastern religious heroes. So she's absolutely right. That's exactly what it is.
And you have a question. You just, I think that maybe you want to expand a little bit on Ukuna Charles is asking for you to explain the miracle of Buddha. You know, he wants to know a little bit something about it.
Well, one of the main miracles of Buddha, which is probably one of the most astute one, is where he duplicated himself, where he's in two places at the same time. That's miraculous. I mean, it is something. It's such a crazy occurrence that, as far as miracles are concerned, I mean, it's right up there with it. You cannot be two places at the same time unless you're on video.
Unless you're on Zoom.
Yeah, unless you're on Zoom or something like that, that you could be on the screen and still sitting here like I am. I'm in two places at the same time. Okay, that's one of the major miracles that you have.
But that is not a proven.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Miracles are based on folklore and mythology. You tell stories, you know, of great spiritual deeds and all that stuff. I'll give an example. Let's talk about Samson, for example, that you know, held two pillars together that weighed tons and tons and tons of, you know, pounds, and just pushed them, and the whole temple fell, you know, on all the Philistines. Do you think that such a feat, I don't care which God you're praying to right now, can be duplicated? Do you know of anybody right now, no matter how much God loves you and God is doing God's work through you, that can feed 5,000 people with a loaf of bread? Do you know anybody who can turn water into blood right now?
We need it. We need that miracle right now.
That you see, we need that miracle right now. Every miracle that you see in every world religion, right, that is attributed to the heroes of those religions cannot be duplicated anywhere in the world.
Yes,
God don't love
right.
us. Yeah, we're not in God's favor like that in the real world today. Maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years ago, God loved us a little bit more. That, you know, he had a messenger like Moses or Muhammad or Jesus Christ that could perform miracles, right? And split the Red Sea. I like to see somebody do it now. I like to see anybody who believes in Judaism, any Jewish person, go to the Red Sea right now and split it in two. It's not going to happen. It is based on mythology and folklore designed for persuasive reasons and also to ensure that you conform to a particular religious ideology.
Now, I also want to just welcome Nosferatu. Thank you for joining us. And there's another comment that was made earlier by Adoha Obionyoha. You want to address that?
It says that biblical miracles tend to be performed physically by individuals. Other religious miracles seem to be solely faith-led and from within, and thus hung directly on God's mercies and largesses. Again, she's absolutely right. Number one, she's right. Number two, both comments buttress what I just said. It is designed to persuade you. Now, the biblical miracles that were performed by individuals were performed by individuals that were supposedly chosen by God to convince the rest of humanity that God exists. I am your God. And I'm going to use this guy to convince you that I am your God, that I exist, that I am the most powerful. And if I have to kill all the firstborn of the Egyptians to prove that I am your God, because obviously God is not the God of the Egyptian, he's just the God of the Jews. If I have to send all kinds of locusts to you to destroy your crops and starve you, if I have to split the Red Sea and make sure that all the Pharaoh's chariots get drowned in the Red Sea, if I have to do all manner of evil to prove to you that I'm your God, that I'm not their God, here's my intermediary. I'm going to use this person to do this work. I'm going to use Moses to do it. I'm going to use Jesus Christ, my only begotten son, who didn't even realize that God was using him until he was hanging on the cross. And then he says, Eli, Eli, sabachthani. Oh God, why have you forsaken me? Oh Father, Father, why have you forsaken me?
Ochacha, the other miracle that, again, it's important to understand that these things are, it's very important that we understand these things. Understand that we are not as at a disadvantage as, as human beings. We have the same thing.
We have the same
It's a
thing.
mental thing. When you believe in the power, the most powerful tool, and I say this all the time, in the hands of an oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. You can't, there's no other way to phrase it. When your mind has been convinced, that you're not good enough, that your things are not good enough, then you become easy prey. Then people can take advantage of you. At some point, you have the responsibility to ask questions. It doesn't mean that the other person is wrong. It doesn't mean that the Christian Bible or all of that. So we're not arguing that. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. What we are saying is those things are not based on fact. So that means nobody has the right to argue your fact.
Absolutely.
Nobody can tell you that yours is not good enough. It is not what people say or think about you that matters. It's what you embrace. Once you have embraced that you are on the second rung of reasoning, of importance, then you have yourself to blame. As a when you wash your hands, you dine with the elders. If the elders are talking about who they are, and you hear say, can I come and be part of you? They don't want you there. You've got to bring something to the table.
Absolutely.
You say to them, hey, okay, this is what you guys have. We have it too. This, that, and that. But if you take yours and you put it in the bag and hide it, and somehow you don't bring anything to the table and you want to be embraced and accepted, that's ridiculous. Okay. What is wrong with us right now? And I want our people, African people, need to understand there is nothing out there that we don't have. Even these stories, even these so-called miraculous things that we're teaching our children, all these holiday-related things, they're all forms of miracles. Because like I said earlier, these things that we're teaching them that has the face of people that don't look like them, you understand? But everybody celebrates it, everybody believes it, then that means you're less than. It's, as a matter of fact, you have kids who will tell you in a heartbeat, if you presented them with a black Santa Claus, they'll say, that ain't no Santa Claus. Why? Why? Because it doesn't look like what they've been told that miracle looks like. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we need to start teaching our children some of our own beliefs. not to necessarily tell somebody else yours is not good enough. That's not the point. But to say to them that the same Chineke that created everybody else created you and gave you these cultural identities, cultural way of thinking. You have the right to express it. Don't hide from it. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the tragedy. I like the way you put that. That's really succinct. This is the tragedy of slavery and colonization, right? Where we could tell somebody else's story, but we haven't told our story yet.
Mm-hmm. Nobody tells ours.
Yeah, and somebody else tells our story, and then we, buy a hook, line, and sinker, without any kind of scholarship at all. And another tragedy is the fact that because of slavery and colonizations, a lot of African tribes are unable to trace their history back more than 400 years, right? They can't really go back 2,000-3,000 years old because that history was totally wiped out. Second point I want to make is about clairvoyance and talking to the spirits. Africans are accused of talking to the spirits. It's all about witchcraft. You talk about your ancestors, blah, 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 blah. Well, let's take the ancestors, for example. In Christianity is all about ancestor reverence, isn't it?
Yes.
Judaism is all about that. What do I mean by that? Abraham is an ancestor. Solomon is. Ruth is. Lot is. King David is. Everything that the Jewish people do as far as their religion is concerned is based on ancestral worship. But when Africans talk about ancestors, African Christians look at you as if you just came out from the land of the dead, zombie or some kind of wizard or witchcraft or something. What about Christianity? When you talk about James, when you talk about all the people in the New Testament, are they not ancestors? Not only that, then you have people that were responsible for the patristic literature, and some of these bishops or holy men from Christianism, like St. Peter and St. Patrick, and then you have vacations, and then during the holidays for St. Patrick's Day, you have them carrying St. Patrick's idol all over the street, with flowers all over it and stuff like that. But when you see an African masquerade, you call it an idol, or you call it
an idol.
Else. But yet you go to church, you bend down in front of a statue of Jesus and Mary, and you say, Holy Mary, or Mother of God. First of all, when did God have a mother? God can't possibly have a mother if God created the world. Then if God has a mother, then God is not the first parent, is he? Or she? Right? But I wouldn't think about that because the mind is all messed up, because we have been convinced that we're less than. We have been convinced that somebody else's myth should be our myth. Somebody else's folklore should be our folklore. But then we forget about the folklores that we were told when we were kids in the village and so have you. Every culture in this world, culture is based on mythology and folklore. Without myth and folklore, there is no culture. Because it's the
these
mythology.
Miracles.
Yeah,
these miracles are part of people's culture.
Exactly.
That's a cultural belief.
It's all part of it. Buddhist miracle is not going to be the same as Christian miracle. Christian miracle is not going to be the same as Hindu miracles, but they're all miracles because they are occurrences that are supposedly not normal. But keep in mind that in Christianism today, particularly in modern Protestant religion, you have people that are convinced that their preacher can raise the dead. You've seen the South African preacher with an actor in a coffin. And then the actor's coming along like Land of the Zombies after he raised him from the dead. And people are standing there going, hallelujah, hallelujah. If I did the same thing, nobody's going to be screaming hallelujah to me as a Black African. They're going to say, this is voodoo. It is witchcraft. It is okay for them to do their witchcraft, whatever it is. But it's not okay for me to do mine. So one witchcraft is better than the other as long as it's foreign to me. So continue to promote my self-hatred, my self-denial. Help me to forget my history. Turn me into a perpetual zombie so that I don't bequeath any legacy for my children. That's what
Nosferatu says that Christianity was formed by stealing and killing pagans. Well, of course it's true. Is that not true?
No, it is true. See,
Christianity is based on pagan religion.
It is based on pagan religion. That's why they don't like him, right? Now, when people, modern day Christians have a right to their beliefs and all that stuff. But one thing that they don't spend a lot of time doing is understanding other cultures and understanding what in the world their texts are really talking about. Paganism comes from the Latin word paganus, which simply means citizen of Rome, a country dweller.
Yeah.
But the way they talk about paganism today, you would think that it means somebody who does not believe in God at all, right? An idol worshiper and all that kind of stuff, even though their own religion is wrought with a whole lot of idols. Absolutely true. Some of the first people that were killed who were pagans, citizens of Rome, that were killed by the Catholic Church were midwives. A lot of the symbolism in Christianism is pagan. Christianity was not founded on any historical, you understand what I'm saying? No historical or cultural basis for where that religion came from. It has pagan context in it. It has context from Egyptian religion, from Buddhism, from all manner of religions, from Judaism. Read the patristic literature, St. Ambrose, St. Origenes, the father of the Catholic Church. The ideas between the idea behind the death of Jesus Christ on the 25th of December, or whether he's the Son of God or whether he's man, all came during the Nicene Council in 325 AD when Constantine called a meeting and decided that he will support the bishops of Rome because the bishops of Rome were willing to do his bidding, and went against the bishops in Carthage because there was a schism in the Catholic Church. Those in Rome believed that Christ was the Son of God, while those in Carthage believed that Christ was man. They didn't believe that he could be man and then the Son of God at the same time. It caused a schism in the Catholic Church. Characters like Donatus the Great went against the bishops of Rome and was castigated by Emperor Constantine. Constantine supported the people in Rome because they were willing to serve in the military, in his army, and were willing to pay taxes. After the Nicene Council, they were granted the right to serve as a corporation, and then they themselves started to persecute and tax people. That's how the sins of the Catholic Church started after the Nicene Council in 325 AD. Then they really ran amok. So Adora is absolutely right.
Yeah, and I have Ukuna Charles made this comment. A pastor got drowned trying to walk on water like Jesus. You see, there we believe that kind of thing. This man actually died trying to
well, because they don't understand what they read. They don't understand the idea behind the miracles. The miracles are not based on fact. Come on, man. There's no way you're not going to turn water into wine. It's not going to happen. Think
You'd be
about
amazed at how many people are trying though when they run out of wine.
I know of a guy who got on a boat, sailed out into the sea, saw a humpback whale, and jumped into the whale's stomach.
No, looking for Jonah.
And died.
No.
He was trying to survive. I know of a guy, the video is right on YouTube, that went into a lion's den with his Bible, reading it. The lion smacked him a couple of times. He was fortunate that the lions had eaten. But if they hadn't had anything to eat,
he would have been dinner.
He was lunch meat. And then, of course, the zookeepers, had to shoot the lion with a tranquilizer to get him away from the guy. So you have people that believe these things as if they are actually, possible. They are not possible. The purpose of spiritual or religious miracles, based on the way they are projected to the rest of the public, is to convince you that God is capable of performing incredible deeds,
Mm.
whatever those deeds may be. You
Well,
understand?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question by Adonha Obionyoha. Do you
Mm.
think that miracles in Igbo cosmology are faith-based, hence Onyekwe Chia Ekwere?
Absolutely.
There it is right there.
Absolutely. Onyekwe Chiekwe is part of Shiism, Guardianism, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, Onyekwe Chiekwe, Birikambiri, and all that kind of stuff. Onyekwe Chiekwe, listen, sometimes miracles take the form of a placebo.
Mm-hmm.
You convince people that this stuff is going to happen, they take it and they feel good, when in essence, all they had was a sugar pill, right? It could be
Yes.
psychological too. So,
Yes.
Onyekwe Chiekwe, some miracles, like I mentioned earlier, is science.
That's right.
Like rainmaking, right? Like
Yes.
getting sick, going to a dibia, a native doctor in Africa, and they ask you a bunch of questions. They learn about your interactions with your neighbor, and then they put two and two together and then prescribe, you know, medication for you. They tell you, okay, this is what you need to do to appease certain spirits so that we could be able to take care of this issue that you have in your family, or maybe this sickness that you have. It is all based on faith. If you didn't believe it, you wouldn't be there in the first place to consult with the native medicine man, the native doctor. Same thing when you go to your a priest to pray for you, and then give him a little bit of cash or whatever, and then he sits there and prays for you. Jesus is Lord, and God is going to help you, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and then you put in such positive energy into the atmosphere that your prayers are answered.
That's right.
You
Then you
understand?
call it miracle. That's right.
Yeah, but it's not everything that you pray for that is going to happen for you.
Of course.
Right? Life happens. Some people have good karma that just follow them. Some people are just caught up in life. The little kid in Sudan who's 2 years old that caught a bullet in the head and died was sinless, but it happened. And you can't sit around and ask yourself, well, if God was, if God is alive, that shouldn't have happened to that child. It doesn't work that way. God already, Chineke already gave us everything that we need here to make this world a paradise. What we do with it is up to us.
Thank you so much. That is very, very important for us to know what you believe in. And it may not always come true, but if you do believe enough, all right, in something that can possibly happen, you know, there are some things that can actually become reality because it's part of the natural phenomenon. They do happen. And when you believe in them, you tend to act accordingly to make it happen. Some of them, it doesn't matter what you do, it wouldn't happen. But there are some things that if you believe hard enough, you actually go out and do something to make it happen. At what point you call it a miracle. It is
absolutely.
Nosferatu has indicated that we, and I agree, there's a tendency for the very people who are practicing what we started with, you know, to call is primitive, to call our traditional beliefs heathenism, you know. But you see, the thing about it is you don't blame them, you know, for doing what they're doing when you're the one who's embracing and accepting it. Now, I understand colonialism. I understand that our minds have been, you know, messed up and what have you. But at some point, you know, you have to grow up. Okay? And that's why I said earlier, when you begin to think as an intelligent human being, when you start to ask questions, when you start to understand that you're no different from anyone else, that you're just as good, you start to question things that don't really make sense. But the tragedy is that religion, okay, a religion has made it, some religions anyway, the ones that we embrace, have made it so that you don't have the right to question. You understand what I'm saying? Because of the fear of going to hell or whatever those punitive destinations are. and there are quite a bit of them. It's not just the Bible, hell, they're all the ones, you know. But it does cause you to pause. Instead of you thinking anything through, you just believe it to keep the peace. You know, we don't know the hereafter. You know, when you talk to some individuals, say, "Oh, you know, you're going to hell." How you know? You been there? How you know who's going to hell? Well, nobody has been there to come back to tell us what it looks like. Everything we see about hell,
and it's not going to happen either.
And that's another miracle that ain't happening.
Well, that miracle ain't happening. Forget about that. Let's. Ahain K.O.K. Onyoha once said that any religion that does not live love and preach love is no religion at all. One of the foremost spiritual tenets of Chiism, also known as Godinism, is biri kambiri, live and let live.
That's right.
Abrahamic religions don't promote that, right? What they promote and what they preach is called exclusive truth. My way or the highway.
The highway.
Which rumples social harmony. When you believe that other God's creations are less than you, then you're admitting that God made a mistake. And I don't believe that Chineke makes any mistake. There's a reason why we have the different religions and mindsets in the world that we have today. And the reason is simply this: diversity is divine. All roses are not red. You have a red, yellow rose, red rose, white rose, whatever rose you have, but they're all roses. All plants are not the same. There are different kinds of cats. You have leopards, you have lions, you have tigers, you got cheetahs. They're all cats. What about dog breeds? There's nothing in this world, in God's earth, that was created to be uniform. It is divine to have diversity. So when you have a religion or an ideology that pits themselves against other religious cultures and then elevates themselves as superior, that's racism, right? You're not promoting peace on earth. The purpose of religion is to love the underprivileged, love those people that are, unfortunate, love people that are different from you, because it is understood in the spiritual world that it is this diversity that makes life worth living. I mean, if I wanted to go on vacation to Europe, I would never think of going there if Europe, let's say I live here in the United States. Why would I go to Africa if Africa looks like the US? Why would an African want to come here if the United States looks like Africa? Why would I go to Australia if Australia looks like the United States, and vice versa? We go travel places to experience something different. That's what makes life worth living. The food you eat, the different kinds of soups, even hamburgers are different. Bacon burgers, chicken burgers, fish burgers, all kinds of burgers. There is nothing in this world that is uniform. So when you have a religion that castigates other points of view and tells you that you're less than, that is totally wrong. They are less than, because they're not doing God's work. I don't think God created life just to extol one group over another.
But even the basic, if people would just take the time and listen, even the basic African spirituality, let me just use Igbo, okay? There's a song. My voice is not the best, and I'm sorry, I'm going to sing it, because only if I sing it could I really communicate it. It says, "Welitanya ginelu, wedatanya ginala, lanya buruburu, hukwa ihe nile nekumendo, ihe nile kebina uwa, ihe nile kebina mmiri, mahaduku, mahadenta, mahadema, mahadinjo, haneketazu, onyinye chukwu." Simple. Everything in this world, no matter their size, no matter if they are on earth or in the water, all of us get God's blessings, Chineke's blessings in equal amount. That is the main spiritual philosophy. But all of that has been scattered now that we don't believe that everybody has the right to to God's blessings. It belongs to other people, and then the rest of us has to carry our little cups and go and beg for them to add a little bit to our cup. And then when we come back, we started with a full cup. By the time we come back with the cup, it's a half full, if that. You know what I'm saying? And then we think we're grateful, So Chineke doesn't make any mistakes. All of us need to be aware. We need to be aware that the miracles that we're looking for is right in our backyards. We need to embrace it. We need to stop diminishing our worth. We need to stop blaming people for our condition in the world. What has been done has been done. But at some point, we're now responsible. Do you understand what I'm saying? We're now responsible for our own good. So when we talk about miracles, either we're talking about miracles, whatever it is we're talking about, we need to pause and ask ourselves, what about us? What do we believe? Anything that you learn from cannot hurt you. It is part of your learning. The Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, all of them. You can learn from all of that. And then, of course, very soon we'll have release our Nkumi. You can learn from that. We can learn from, yes.
Wait.
Yes, so, you know what I'm saying? So they are relevant stories about us that are miraculous as well.
Yeah.
And we need to begin to stop feeling so inadequate that anything that deals with us as a people is either, one of the things that's really wrong is when we talk about voodoo, people talk about voodoo, they don't even know what voodoo is.
No idea.
They saw it in a movie. The movie showing the people with the bones in their noses and the eyes bulging and all that
the
stuff.
Zombies.
The zombies. And but you know how many people spend time watching the zombies on television? But anyway, that's another show. But the bottom line here, is that we are so quick to disregard. Ahanke Oke Onyoha. I'm going to play a video about Ahanke Oke Onyoha, the founder of Chiism, Godianism. It is imperative, just a few little points of what he believed in, what he tried to communicate to us, what we must begin to take note of. Because from the Bible, he didn't get it from the Quran, he didn't get it from the Bhagavad Gita, he got it from African spiritual concepts. It's no different than anyone else's, but it's ours.
All the way from Nkporo.
That's right. And I'm going to, if you just take a moment, let me just play it right quick and just pay attention to some of the
that just gave me goosebumps.
Our gratitude, I'm telling you, and for those who are not able to read it, our gratitude to our honorable ancestor, Ahanke Oke Onyoha, as his daughter, as his son, and my granddaughter, my daughter, and my sister, we are so fortunate. And for all of us who believe in the concept of we're good enough, he says, remember your identity. Remember who you are. If you remember who you are, nobody can rule over you. You can learn from other people, but they don't have to take over your being. From us to Chineke, Yudi,
yes, there's no distance.
There's no distance. Right where we are, Chineke is. In other words, we've got the power right next to us. That's what he taught us.
Yeah.
You are one with God. You are powerful beyond measure. You don't have to undermine your spirituality, your belief system to accommodate someone else. Be willing to work for what we want. Be willing to work for it, not to work for someone else, but work for us. Everybody else is working for themselves. We need to be willing to work for ourselves, to work for our people. It is our responsibility. Ahai says that we are our greatest product and service. Do you know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
You, not them, nobody else. You are responsible for all that you can become or lack thereof.
Yes.
I remember as a young child, him talking to me, talking to all of us. Every Sunday when we gathered and went to church,
Yeah.
we didn't go to hear about someone else's story, his story. We heard about our story.
Everything was culture.
He wanted us to be committed to kindness. When you do good, you get goodness back. He wanted us to commit to that. We need to commit to that. That is our spiritual philosophy. He says, Chineke did not make a mistake when we were when he created us. When she created us. We are manifestations of the divine. We're not less than. We're not here to criticize anyone else, but we're certainly here to remind ourselves who we are. Ahai says that prosperity is a state of mind. It is in our minds. That we live in lack is in our minds. It's not real. Because prosperity doesn't have anything to do with just, it has something to do with money, but that's not all it's about. Your spiritual health is part of your wealth. You can have all the money in the world and all the education in the world. If you lack an understanding of who you are, you cannot communicate that to your children. So you recycle the ignorance. This is what we're experiencing. I'm not here to talk about other people and what they believe. I'm talking about what we believe, what we must believe, what we owe ourselves. That's what Ahai Keoke was telling us. All goodness of living is open to us. The problem is, are we prepared to receive it? Are we prepared to be all that we can be? Are we prepared to be the African that Chineke made us to be? I don't care what anybody else is doing. I care about what you're doing, what we're doing. How is our lives benefiting? How are our lives benefiting our people? What is it we're doing? What is it we're doing that's uplifting the African? Teaching our children to be less than. Because quite frankly, when you teach them that God is outside of them, and that God does not look like them, they become servants, mental servants, ultimately. They cannot grow, and our communities cannot grow because what we teach our children is what they become. That's what generations become. 18 purgative lights, UD, huh?
Yes.
The 18 purgative lights, these are dictates, mandates for how we conduct ourselves. They're very positive. If you go to cheesing.org, you will see the 18 purgative lights. That reminds us, those purgative lights remind us of who we are. Okukwe, our concept of how we must conduct ourselves. Ahai taught us that. When he was alive, there were lots of people who wanted to ridicule him. Is that not true? But everything that he said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Plan prayerfully, he says, prepare purposefully, proceed positively, pursue persistently, and last but not least, see the invisible, feel the intangible, and as an African, achieve the impossible. It is within our hands to be all that we can be. That is Ahai's legacy. We are his legacy, all of us. And it is our responsibility to start looking at ourselves from the prism of the way Chineke made us to be. And that is the program for today. Ude, do you have anything you want to add before I close the program?
I'm just, all I just want to say is all great civilization are talked about based on their culture and their contributions to civilized behavior. We always tell somebody else's story. But I can understand that we do that because we were colonized and enslaved. This is an internet age. Information is rampant everywhere. It is time for us as Africans to start questioning everything that we have been taught. It is time for us to realize that all the cultures are not doing anything different from what we do. We do the same thing. We just tell the stories differently because all cultures tell their stories differently, but they all tell a story about them and their humble beginnings.
Yes.
If we want respect from the rest of the world, we have to start respecting and loving ourselves and having a Pan-African mindset. That's like right. You said earlier on in the program, Chineke, God, did not make a mistake. Diversity is divine. Yes. I am Black and I am proud and I am African because that's the way the Almighty Chineke made me. I'm not ashamed of that. Neither should a Chinese be ashamed of being Chinese, or a European be ashamed of being European, or a Native American be ashamed of being a Native American, because that's the way it is.
That's right.
And if you believe in Chineke, then we'll understand that Chineke does not make any mistakes. Now, if you feel that you're more superior or that you are inferior to some other culture, then you really don't believe what you're preaching. You don't believe in Chineke. Because on one hand, you say that God is great, God is perfect, and then on the other hand, you say God made a mistake.
And that's not true. Well, I just want to read some little things somebody wrote here. North Faratu, TikTok is teaching people more about the truth of spirituality and stolen spirituality than I have ever seen, and it is greatness. It's true. I mean, there are all these platforms who are coming to terms with the power of spirituality as opposed to the power of religious, and then organized religion, according to Matthew Lewis, uses fear as a tool of control. That's why I prefer spirituality over religion. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the close of this wonderful segment. Yudi, thank you for your contribution. Thank you, all of you who joined us today. Your contribution added so much to this program. We look forward to seeing you again next Sunday. Until then, take care of yourself, take care of your neighbors, take care of your family, and just be a good human being. And so it is.